Welcome everybody to a momentous episode of Heresy Hammer. Why is it momentous? For two reasons. We're talking about the best moments in the lore, but Rob, did you know this is episode 69 of Heresy Hammer?
I did know because Kerry alerted us that it was 69th episode, as if it was a big a big deal.
Yeah,
That just shows you how down in the gutter his mind truly is.
absolutely disgusting. That's why he plays word bearers, right?
That's the kind of
So
nonsense you expect from Emperor's Children players, though, isn't
it
it?
sure is precisely. So before we get into things, I'll kick things off by saying nice. Okay, right. We've got it out of the way. 69 episodes. Did you ever think we'd ever get here?
No, I didn't. And I suppose
No.
it's even more than that because we've done a lot more Tacticas than that.
Oh yeah, I mean we're probably at like 150 once you include all the
Yeah.
specials and the Patreon
Yeah,
episodes and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, never mind. Yeah, as far as the main show goes, this is episode 69,
yeah.
and we're still waiting for the announcement on third edition at the time of
Mhm.
viewing. Rumors are abound, but as of yet, nothing concrete or plascrete, dependent on if we're being law appropriate.
Very good. Very
Okay, right. I'll be hosting today. My name is John. You can find me on Instagram at d6_miniatures. And I'm joined by the most famous man in Heresy with the biggest arms and the most winningest Ultramarines. His name is Rob. He
hello.
is at Metas Miniatures. How are you, Rob?
Yeah, good. I'm good. I've been painting some Thousand Suns today.
I've been painting
I
Thousand Suns as well, funnily enough.
I have you. Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Are they like Unity era Thousand
they
Suns?
are exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
You haven't
just
shown those off much, have you? On
no,
posts. No.
no, I haven't actually. It's
People would
mainly
be. I
because
think people would be keen to see them.
yeah, I will put some stuff up. It's because it's taken a little longer than I anticipated to kind of get them ready, and I'm doing it in fits and starts alongside a quite big Death Guard commission as well, and trying to get a bit of personal hobby in, and also life in general. Currently
Mhm.
very busy, so it really is a case of when I'm finding the time. But yeah, no, I think once this project is completed, I think I'll show some stuff off. But I think they're quite cool, and the gentleman who is the recipient of them is seems to be very happy with them as well. So
Good. Good.
we shall see. Okay, so this is a special episode today. We are talking about the top moments in the lore. So we've pared these down to a very select and carefully curated.
Well, well, Kerry carefully curated them, and then we were like, he's gone mad. There's too many. There's bloody 20 here. He's gone.
Yeah,
This is too much for one show.
yeah.
It's insane. So we had to pare it back even further.
I know, and we had a real trouble because we were like, well, we'll just do a top 10, and
We
we
couldn't do that. So
couldn't.
we could not break it. We could not cut it down
No,
to 10, could we? No.
there were a few that I wanted to remove and a few that you wanted to remove, and we
There were.
played
I
out.
wanted to be a bit more
Yeah,
cutthroat, and John
you
wanted to
did,
be
yeah.
cutthroat on mine. Yeah.
We played our vetoes very
Yeah,
carefully, I
that's
think.
right.
Yeah. No, anyone
I
who's
have no doubt that people will tell us why we're wrong in the comments for
oh yeah,
show
and
or
I
what we've
can't
missed
believe you've
out.
missed this. Yeah, I know, I
Yeah.
know, I know. For those of you familiar with the British sitcom Peep Show, I very much played my super hand slapping the washing machine, and this stays. It's what made me fall in love with the place, Rob.
Yeah, very good. Very
Oh,
good.
fucking hell. So, for those who don't know, Rob's been touring the world painting miniatures, and I have been not sleeping. So, we are both quite delirious today. So, we'll do our absolute best to get ourselves through. But yeah, I'm sure that the comment section is going to be absolutely ablaze with, I can't believe you haven't discussed this, or I can't believe you've included this. This is bullshit. So,
Mm.
I'm fully expecting an argument, a fight. Um, Oh, constantly being told I'm not good enough, which is just how I seem to live my life at the moment. So let's see how we go. So before we get started, we need to say some special thank yous. The first one to Sacris Mundus. If you would like some terrain for your games of Horus Heresy, regardless of whether they are big scale, little scale, really big scale, or somewhere in the middle, you can head over to Sacris Mundus's Patreon. You can find them on My Mini Factory and on Cult 3D. Buy yourself some files, print them out at home, play some cool games. If you want some miniatures to play on your scenery, why not hit up Gator 3D Printing? Dan has been kind of back with a bang recently. I've taken a little bit of time out, and he's been constantly working away on converting resin into things. So why not speak to Gator 3D Printing if you want some cool, creative, and quite unique miniatures for your games? And if you want some accoutrements, some other bits and pieces, you want some Sacrismunus terrain printing, for instance. You want some not Sacrismunus terrain printing. You want some of this, you want some of that, and you want it done quick, sharp, and in great quality. Then head over to Beowulf Miniature Printing. A huge thank you to all of those guys. Right, let us get into the delicious meat and the lovely potatoes. The top lore moments. So we are blessed to have. I mean, it's got to be one of, if not the biggest sci-fi series when it comes to novels ever. Right? I can't think of anything much bigger.
I think so. I think it's got to be one of the biggest, like, yeah, biggest series. I think probably why it doesn't get loads of accolades though is because there's lots of different authors involved.
Yes, yeah. Which is very
Rather
cool,
than a
by the way.
single. Yeah,
I
it's
really
really good.
love the fact that there is so much in the way of sort of diversity of writing. I'll be perfectly honest. I think some writers do a better job. I prefer reading some authors' stuff more than others. I think in retrospect, having gone back and either read or listened to some stuff again recently, I think I've maybe been a bit overly harsh on certain authors in the past who I thought was trash, but at second or third time round, it's actually way better than I've given it credit for.
Mhm.
So if Gav Thorpe ever reads or watches this, by the way, I'll be honest with you, first time round wasn't so keen on the Dark Angels. Going back now, I think it's aged like a fine cheese. It is absolutely excellent. So no, I do apologise for ever having doubted you, Gav. So, but some facts and figures. So the Black Library Horus Heresy novel series currently stands at 72 full novels. So we've got 54 main novels in the series. We've got the 10 Siege of Terror books, and then we've got 17 Primarch books plus Valdor. He counts, doesn't he? He counts a Primarch. He's basically a Primarch.
Fills the slot.
He does, exactly. He has got the Primarch keyword. We've got a graphic novel, numerous novellas, audio dramas, as well as a few short story collections too. It's estimated at around 8.5 million words in
Ooh.
print.
Wow.
That's
That's
almost as
impressive.
many points as Rob has painted in the last 6 months. So, since Horus Rising was published back in 2006,
Wow.
nearly 20 years. Horus Rising will be celebrating 20 years next year.
That's interesting, isn't it? They've got to
That's
do
like
they've
half
got
of
to
more.
do a celebration. I would have thought there'll be
Yeah.
some kind of limited edition thing that you'll never ever be able to get your hands on.
You say that. I have got a limited edition of the first Horus Rising, which
Yeah,
I just
same.
randomly picked up one day from Warhammer World. It was just
Yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah.
shelf.
Because they didn't sell those online,
No,
so yeah, so they
very
couldn't be
weird.
scalped.
Yes, now worth an insane amount of money. So, which is annoying for people that don't own one. Um, we span numerous stories from the height of the Great Crusade all the way to the climactic battle on the Vengeful Spirit. So, along the way, we've met and we've also lost incredible characters and witnessed battles that were not but myths by the 41st millennium.
Mm.
Yeah, there is I think that's always been quite well illustrated as well. Just there is that disconnect in terms of the lore of 40k between kind of some of the stuff that happened in the 31st millennium by the time, we get to the point where the Tau fishmen are kind of, taking over the galaxy.
Mm.
These stories are committed to folklore and legend. So this is the setting that our game takes place. So many armies and events are inspired by the lore in these books. Picking a favorite would be impossible, but we're going to give it a damn good go. Have you got a particular kind of favorite piece of lore one piece that really stands out to you?
Yes. Well, I haven't got one.
Ah,
Um,
so then no is the answer to that question.
no, but I mean, many of the key lore moments we're gonna go through now. I
Sure.
think I think I've said it before, but I think one of the biggest things about what they did slightly differently with the 30k lore like book series that
Mm.
hadn't really happened with the 40k series is that I felt that they gave the Space Marines more personality and character.
Yep.
And as a result, because you're able to empathize with these characters, I felt like they kind of were able to bring them more to life. Like I think Tarek from the Mournival in like the first couple of books,
Yeah.
he's a bit of a clown, like he's a bit of a joker, which is actually when you read it, like for the first time, say 20 years ago, that was
Mm.
super unusual and not really a thing that was in Horus Heresy, like sorry, in Games
40K.
Workshop, like
Yeah.
lore. Basically they were just characters that know no, literally knew no fear,
Yeah.
knew no fear.
Knew no fear. Yeah.
So I think that that was kind of like interesting to experience. And as a result, that you become kind of like connected to these characters, and when you lose these characters, actually, it's quite sometimes it can be quite emotional. We'll talk about
Yeah.
those.
I completely agree. I mean, I think a story I've probably told, I don't know if I've told on the podcast previously, but um, having come from playing like lots of 40k back in my much more youthful days, I always wanted an Emperor's Children army. And so my first army that I painted when I got into the Horus Heresy in like 2014, 2015 was Emperor's Children. And then I got to the point where I finished reading the book Fulgrim and I thought, this guy's a complete dickhead.
Mm.
I'm done with these guys. Bam, sold them straight away. Got myself involved in the iron, never looked back. Okay, so this episode will look at some of our picks for our greatest moments in no particular order. But as always, feel free to comment on your favourites or anything that we have missed. I think that there are so many iconic moments that this show would be days long if we were to go
Yes.
through them all. So we have been very, very, very forthright and selective about those that we have included.
Mm.
But before we get going, it's important to say that this may contain spoilers. Now, a lot of these books are, as we discussed, nearly 2 decades old. So, like, if you haven't finished reading all of them, maybe look away now. But at the same time, like, I think you've had fair warning. Like, if you've not read all of them by now, then, what are we doing? Okay, Rob, should we get started?
Let's do it. You can do the
And
first one.
where better place to start? I was there. So, for starters, what a book. What a line. So, it was left to one of the most revered authors for the Black Library, Dan Abnett, to kick things off nearly 2 decades ago with the line that started it all. I was there, he would say afterwards, until afterwards became a time quite devoid of laughter. I was there the day Horus slew the Emperor. And then in we go. I mean,
Yeah.
is there a more iconic line?
No, not apart from I can't say. I think those two lines are probably the most famous from the Horus Heresy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great line. It obviously there's an opening sequence where basically the lunar wolves at this point are attacking another world that is led by the Emperor. So
Yeah.
it's just so the way that he tells it is basically a play on words, and they kind of discuss it in that first chapter that it's almost heretical for Loken to say it, but obviously it has massive resonance for the entirety of the series, and then what eventually happens on the Vengeful Spirit, because Loken is in fact there when Horus takes down the Emperor, and the Emperor takes down Horus, in fact. So yeah, so a great moment, and infamous words to last through the ages.
It's Genesis. Like these words spawned, as we've discussed, tens of books, millions of words, probably hundreds of millions of pounds or dollars or dong in sales. Like this is where it all started. These were the opening words of the first book when the Horus Heresy was now but a glint in Games Workshop's eye from a gaming perspective, anyway.
Yeah.
It took what 6 years for the first edition of Horus Heresy to come out. 2012, wasn't it, when we got the
Yeah,
first
it
Black
took
book?
some time between this first moment and yeah. Yeah.
But this is what started it all. This is the line that hooked in so many
Mm.
hobbyists around the world, including ourselves, and I'm sure everyone else watching out there. This is it. We couldn't not include this one, could we? So
No, no.
here we go. I was there the day Horus slew the Emperor. Mate, if this episode doesn't give you goosebumps constantly, then I don't know what hope we've got for the sake of humanity. Okay, so
Oh, this is
this
one of
is
my. Well, I chose this one actually.
you chose this one, yeah.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background on this one. So, in Angels Exterminatus,
A great book,
the Iron Warriors and
great Legion.
the Emperor's Children hook up. The way that Fulgrim kind of sells this endeavor to Perturabo is that they're going to
His full
go
name, please. Our Lord and Savior Perturabo.
they're going to go into uh, kind of the worlds that used to belong to the Eldari, and there is a super. Kind of Fulgrim infers that there is a super weapon
Yeah.
that Perturabo can get his hands on. It will ultimately end the war. But eventually, he is in fact kind of duped and tricked into it. But there is a great moment where Fulgrim, as you might expect, is just being typically aloof and not particularly a useful ally. And there's a great moment where Perturabo is working away in his workshop and then smashes Fulgrim's head into a toy replica of a warhound, which is just absolutely brilliant. Like, I think what was great about this book and just that particular moment was the idea that we had always seen Perturabo as this kind of like, almost like a knucklehead, kind of like
Mm.
all he would be useful for is siegecraft and just throwing men at the walls. And actually, within this book, we really got to see that actually he's a great mind, he's a calculated thinker, his legion are full of thoughtful, kind of like warsmiths and commanders.
There's a lot of like
And
stoicism within the Iron Warriors, and
yeah,
this is,
yeah,
but from like my personal perspective, this
yeah,
is the book that resonated with me to the point where, like, I mean, I've been playing Iron Warriors now for so many years, but
yeah.
off the back of this book.
Yeah, and I suppose the way that where this scene takes place is almost like how I'd imagine Leonardo da Vinci's workshop.
Yeah.
There's chaos everywhere, but it's ordered chaos. Lots of intricate weapons, lots of intricate tools, lots of intricate things. And one of them is a replica of a warhound. So I kind of have always imagined it as something that we might expect to see on the tabletop, but it is in
Mm.
fact a kind of like a working one. And essentially, he grabs Fulgrim's hair and just smashes Fulgrim's head into the warhound. All to make a point, and that's essentially it. Yeah, so it's a great moment, and it kind of feels deserved because kind of Fulgrim gets what he deserves there. So yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely awesome moment.
absolutely. Yeah, he got what's coming to him. And to be fair as well, quite emblematic, I think, of what would happen in the real world if someone slammed your head into a warhound. I think you
Yeah.
broken, bone broken, blood spattered. I think that is
Yeah.
legitimately what might happen.
Yeah. So a great great moment in this one. So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Right, let's go to the next one. Which one are you going to talk us through now?
So the Emperor and Malkador play regicide.
Love this. Love
So do
this.
you want to take us through this one? Because I know this is a particular
This is
font
one of mine. Yeah.
in the
So
story.
I
Oh, yeah.
think this is so this is obviously a short story, but it also is a great short kind of like audiobook as well. It's from Heralds of the Siege. I think it's the very one of the very last stories within that book. And sometimes those anthologies can be a little bit hit and miss, or at least the quality of the stories can vary. And this one was just perfect. I think that one of my favorite things that we get to see is the development of the relationship between Malkador and the Emperor. Like they've got so much history between each other, but we only ever see a fraction of that history. And these glimpses, these conversations that they have, these games that they play, the chess games or whatever, they're just such a great window into their relationship. And essentially what happens is that they're playing a game of kind of I think it's regicide,
Yeah.
um, and they're playing out what essentially happens or happened in the Horus Heresy, using moves and counter moves. One is the Emperor and one is the Warmaster, and they're kind of role playing this game and what happened, you know. And I think there's great moments where sort of the playing piece that is Ferrus Manus gets kind of gets defeated or broken, and the Emperor picks it up and he says, you know, if I have time, I'll do something about that a little bit later, and then he places it to one side. And I think that it's such a good glimpse into like that counterfactual, what could have been if the if the Emperor defeated Horus and was not stuck on the throne as well. You
Yeah.
just get a glimpse into what what might have been. So it's an absolutely awesome book, and yeah, I think really delves into the relationship between Malcador and the Emperor, and just something a little like the Last Church was. It's something just a little bit more cerebral, a little
Yeah,
bit more
Last Church was
thoughtful.
phenomenal.
No, there's no nobody picks up a bolter, nobody picks up a sword. It's an intellectual exercise, and I think that it's a worthy lore kind of top 12
Yeah.
moment that we've chosen.
I think that a lot of the, as a slight aside, I do think that a lot of the kind of like novellas and collections of short stories don't necessarily get short shrift, but they often get ignored, and actually they contain some really lovely moments in there.
Yeah,
And as Rob says, something completely different from your sort of standard.
yeah,
I, without, I don't want to bore things down too much, but your standard kind of bolter porn, really.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah,
Rob mentioned another short story, The Last Church, which is just,
yeah.
I mean, captivating is how
Yeah.
I would just.
But and the reason for that is that we always the scenes with the Emperor is not a massive, although he's a presence at all times.
Mm,
He is not actually a massive character, with the
no,
exception of the last three books. And even then in the second book, he doesn't really appear that
no.
much. Um, and these little vignettes, these moments where he articulates himself, he talks about, in the Last Church, why he felt that religion needed to be kind of like wiped from the face of the earth and the galaxy, are just really interesting moments into kind of his psyche, but also his ultimate plan for the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, talk us through the next one
Okay. Hey, did you hear about Magnus? Clay
then.
did nothing wrong.
Several times.
Yeah, so I think we felt like we had to include this one just because it's almost become a bit of a meme in the heresy, and we wanted to explore the reason behind it. So, um, this was from A Thousand Suns, another really great book, I think. I mean, we're going to say it's a lot, by the way, so get used to hearing that. Um, but what you essentially had here is you had Magnus, who was kind of always a bit of an outcast. He kind of, kept himself to himself. His legion were so completely different to anything and everything else out there, and especially after, like the Council of Nicaea and kind of what happened there as well. That outcastness all kind of played back in, and you always get the sense that you'd like Magnus had this kind of really sort of tortured personality because he wanted desperately to remain loyal to the Emperor, and so much so that he wanted to he wanted the affection of the Emperor, and he just wanted to just please his dad, and he was forever getting kind of forever felt kind of bitter that he wasn't receiving the kind of credit that he felt he deserved. So in one last desperate gambit, he thought, well, I've foreseen what's going on, so I'm gonna do the good thing and kind of forewarn. So Magnus, knowing of Horus's fall, defies his father's orders and forces his psychic form to deliver the message to Terra. In doing so, he shatters the protections of the Golden Throne, damning the Imperium forever. So basically, he can't do right for doing wrong. Magnus, he has the best of intentions, but constantly feels like tripping up over himself. So I'll read the passage quickly as well. So, a form pressed its way through the portal, massive, red, and aflame with the burning force of its journey. It emerged into the chamber, wreathed in eldritch fire that bled away to reveal a robed being composed of many angled light and the substance of stars. Its radiance was blinding, and none could look upon its many eyes without feeling the insignificance of their own mortality. None had ever seen such a dreadful apparition, the true heart of a being so mighty that it could only beat while encased in super engineered flesh. The Emperor alone recognized this rapturous angel, and his heart broke to see it. Magnus, he said. Father, replied Magnus. Their minds met, and in that moment of frozen connection, the galaxy changed forever.
What a moment! What a moment!
Whew.
The other kind of like follow-on moment from this is actually Master of Mankind, because
Yeah.
he kind of walks not Amon, Ra and Endymion through this moment as he's playing
Yeah.
out kind of like key moments in his life, and you get to see the follow on from this moment, which is where the Emperor kind of says, "Summon Janisha Kroll, summon the 10,000," and then
Yeah.
yeah, Constantine's, "Yes, my lord," and they kind of like go off, and they're kind of like firing their
Yeah.
custodian spears into Magnus, which is awesome to see the other end of it. But yeah, the moment that really sealed the fate of the emperor, because it meant that he was
Mhm.
essentially locked to Terra and
Yeah.
can take the water horror. So yeah, and it's such a tragic moment, because he was
Yeah.
ultimately trying to do right, and then kind of it all went wrong.
Yes, absolutely. Poor Magnus.
Uh
You're a huge fan of this,
Man,
so
this is it. This is it. This is the one. I think this is the most emotional moment in the whole of the series. Lots of things we know are
really,
coming. Yeah.
fucking hell, that is,
Oh my God. Yeah. Lots of things we know are coming. We know
yeah,
that Horus will die. We know what the eventual fate of the Emperor. There are a
yeah.
few characters along the way that we always knew that Ferrus Manus was going to die.
Yeah, we always
There's
knew
I
that Sanguinius knew what was going to happen to him, and that was
Yeah.
always that kind of background. And every
Yeah.
interaction we have with Sanguinius, you always know that he knows. Like, I
Yeah.
will not die this day.
The big characters, like, we actually know their fate, so it's actually quite hard, I think, to create any real measure of suspense.
Mm,
Whereas these characters that they basically invented for the Horus Heresy series, like Yesugei, we don't actually know what's ultimately gonna happen to them, and I suppose, I didn't necessarily see this coming, and it's also just a great illustration of sacrificing himself for his legion in order to get back to Terra. So the backstory to kind of Scars and the Path of Heaven, which Chris Wright did an
oh, phenomenal
amazing
job.
job
Yeah,
with. And if you actually go back now, so if you actually either re-download the audiobooks, they've actually used like an Asian voice actor to redo this whole series, like both Scars and Path of Heaven,
I
which is
didn't know that.
interesting. Yeah, so they actually used like a British actor previously, but
Yeah,
it's all been redone now. Actually, I think to make it more kind of feel culturally
yeah,
and sound culturally kind of like correct.
yeah.
So
There's
it's been
only so many
redone.
voices that Jonathan Keeble can do without
Yeah, yeah,
a
but
little
yeah. So
bit
if you re-download it,
of
you'll
me.
get a new version of it. But essentially, the Path of Heaven opens up with uh, uh, um, the White Scars are on the back foot. They are essentially being hemmed in. They've been fighting for years, and initially the traitors were unable to. Or were not quick enough in developing tactics to kind of fight off the White Scars, particularly because of their speed and maneuverability.
Mm.
Years on, though, they've learnt their tricks and they've learnt their games, and as a result, they're kind of being hemmed in, and then they're in a position that they don't want to be. The Kharn draws the entire legion back together, which is of course dangerous for
Mm.
a legion that kind of like. He's quite free, but he's drawing them back together, and the intention is to go back to Terra. Of course, though, if you've got fleets in your way, there's and yeah, we're talking massive amounts of fleets, and you are only a single fleet. That's going to be tough to make your way back. So they need a way back, and part of the story is about how they find their way back through this place called Dark Glass, which was a precursor. Um, and I suppose the pre-testing to what would eventually become the Throne of Terror and would unlock the webway for the Emperor. Yeah, they're doing it. This Dark Glass kind of construction uses warpcraft, but also technology. And I think it's spoken about in the book that basically they've done it off of Terra because it could implode, it could destroy itself. So the testing area is done off from Terra. Anyway, the White Scars are forced to use Dark Glass to be able to travel back to Terra. But in order to open up Dark Glass, they need a Psyker of considerable power, and Yesugei is really the only one and person because of the series of events that takes place on Dark Glass at that time. In order to make himself, he's going to have to
He's the
sacrifice himself
conduit,
to
right?
open to Dark Glass.
Yeah.
I think what is really the moment for me, it's not necessarily the moment where he kind of opens up the conduit. It's that moment between that moment and him dying, which is that he sends messages to three people, one of which is the Khan of Khans, and which is such an emotional moment because the Khan is an emotional
Yeah.
guy, and he really does not want. He sees Yasugai as a friend and a mentor, and that is tragic. Then we have the Thousand Sun Psykers that's joined to them, and then his message is basically guide them through and back home, and then the sage, the human character, the general, the logistics general, who the White Scars treat with almost reverence. And the relationship they've created over the course of those two books is quite special. And I think that's it. I think it's such a great moment because you see it from three different angles, which is one from the Primarch, one from the Legionaries, and one from humans, and how this one character is able to build relationships with all three of those. Superhuman demigod Primarchs, and to an old woman. And I think it's such a moment done so well that for me I think it's the most emotional moment within the series. So yeah, it's definitely in my top spots.
Yeah, it's and again special mention to the artwork on the book using
Oh man.
the Keeper of Secrets, the 90s kind of 90s Keeper of Secrets always get me
Yeah, yeah, this is pretty cool, isn't it?
right in the feels. So, reunion in the skies above Molech. First thing to mention, look what a thick boy the Vengeful Spirit is as a
Yeah, it's
book.
huge, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, what a tome.
Yeah.
So, Vengeful Spirit, really, 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 really great book. Molech is just such an absolutely kind of pivotal battle within the heresy. Like, it's probably, I think, for me, it's probably the battle. I don't class Isstvan as a battle, but it's like the battle before we get to because Isstvan isn't a battle. It's
Yeah.
it's a one-sided conflict, but Molech is like a battle.
It's representative
Mm,
of the wider conflict that took place, I'm sure, on many, many worlds as well. Like worlds that we just never see. They don't have time to do a book for every single every single world that is taken. But it's such a good illustration of basically that you've got a heavily armored world fighting against the invaders and the political machinations that can take place within
mm.
that story as well. Yeah, it's a good illustration, I think. And I think the other thing I would just say before we carry on is that for me, it's the last time we see Horus as Horus.
I was about to say that exactly the same
Yeah,
thing. This is where he is at his apex. Like he
yeah.
is in his kind of war mastery form. He is at like the traitor legions and himself are at their most powerful at this point. Like this is before he really falls. He is at his this is the antithesis of Horus as this kind of singular kind of secular being of just almighty power
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
before
yeah.
he
I
kind of
think, yeah,
starts to retreat into himself a little bit
yeah.
more and the paranoia sets in and he becomes strong in a different context, but at this point he is kind of like he is the war master. I feel like this is the book and Molech is where he is war master Horus in his kind of in his final form.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%.
So, oh man, Loken is arguably the most symbolic of. I'm just going to read this verbatim because I think actually Kerry's done a really good job of putting these together. Rob is a man who goes against the grain, so you might have
Sorry.
noticed. No, it's
Yes.
fine. I don't have to apologize to me. I don't care. Um, Loken is arguably the most symbolic of all the Astartes involved in the Horus Heresy novels. I think because he kicks the whole things off, that's probably fair. The last loyal Lunar Wolf, we see the fall of Horus through his eyes from the very beginning until the bitter end. This is when he sees his father again for the first time since Isstvan. So, the passage that we've picked out is I never thought to see you again, Garviel, said Horus. Why would you, said Loken, mustering his reserves of defiance to speak with clarity and strength. I died when you betrayed everything the Lunar Wolves ever stood for, when you murdered Isstvan III and the loyal sons of four legions. Horus nodded slowly. And despite all that, you came back to the vengeful spirit. Why is that? To stop you. Is that what you told Malkador? Said Horus before turning to regard the rest of the Pathfinders. Is that what he told you? It's the truth, said Loken. You have to be stopped.
Yeah, it's such a awesome moment, and I think
Yeah.
the follow on from this, we can't include the entire chapter, but the moment where kind of the Pathfinders, the Knights Errants, basically then
Mm.
kind of launch an attack on Horus and his lackeys, and Yakton Cruz attempts to kind of kill the Horus. What a fool he ever thought
Yeah.
he was. But he for honor
Got
and
to try, hasn't he?
for the Lunar Wolves,
Yeah.
and the soliloquy, the monologue that Loken does, with the blood of the acting crews on
Yeah.
his hands, after he's watched him die, the fact that he was just like, I will never rest. I will stop you. I will fight on every single wall, and there's nothing that you can do, short of killing me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great moment because it's just the wedge between father and son. The
Yeah.
dying of the one of the last Lunar Wolves, um, and as you say, it's really the last moment that we see Horus as Horus, before he basically goes to full ascendancy.
Yeah. I also as well, I genuinely don't like you get the sense that Horus was genuinely surprised to see Loken still
Yeah,
alive.
yeah,
You think
and it was a
that
genuine
he had
offer. You come
yeah,
back to us. Like you can
yeah,
come back. There is a way back.
yeah.
There's a path back here.
Oh man, love it. Okay, we've got all of Saturnine.
Yeah, yeah. There's a fair few. So I'll go. I see what I'll read through these points, and then perhaps each one we can just add into. So,
Yeah.
um, so again, I mean, we could do a whole hour on just this book, and perhaps at some point we will.
Yeah.
But it
You
is.
know what? I'm gonna dock someone here. There are certain people from the other side of the world in one of our kind of more intimate group
Yes.
chats. The thing this book is trash.
Nonsense. It is just basically epic moment after epic moment, and I
Fucking
think
dumb.
and
Like
and
I
I
can't
think
understand how you. Ugh.
this is such a good, like, what I really liked about this book is that it just shows the siege was just not one-sided. There were moments for the loyalists that went their way,
Yeah.
because basically it's just time and time again, it's just the loyalists getting their asses kicked. And like this book was just for me just such a good, like, finally, like the loyalists are sure they have to sacrifice a bishop, but
Yeah.
they're able to take a number of pieces off the board
This
from the traitors.
this book is all killer, no filler. It's just
Yeah,
from the word go until
yeah,
it finishes, like it
yeah.
is just non-stop legendary moment.
And it's another great one where we get to see interactions between the Primarchs and Malkador that are
Mm,
just really interesting. Like they're making strategic decisions and decision making, which I think is just one, like, epic battles aside, the fact that Rogel Dawn has to persuade Valdor, Janisha Kroll,
mm.
and Malkador that the one of the uh they have to make a sacrifice on one flank in order to rescue and save other parts. And I think like that kind of thing is just really, really cool. Right. So Cambadier's drawing his line and never taking a back step. So Cambadier's as captain, he was one of the Lord Castellans. He fought in the solar kind of in the wider solar war. And finds his way on Terra, and basically leads an absolute ragtag band of
Yeah.
men at the Lion Gates spaceport. And again, he's an inspiration to all of us. I mean, what we can all, what we would all do to be as heroic in our final moments as Cambadiers. And he's fighting against the World Eaters, and it's a brilliant moment. And he takes no backwards step. The next one is the ambush in the catacombs of the elite sons of Horus. So Saturnine builds
Is it
to
a triple bluff?
it's brilliant. Like Saturnine, it eventually leads to this moment underneath the Saturnine walls, where the elite of the elite of the legions basically the Sons of Horus think they've got them. They think that they're going to launch an ambush, and then in fact the elite
They are
veterans
the
of those legions are
ambushers.
lying in wait, and it's such a great moment. And we see people die in that story that a number of characters on both sides, but characters who don't expect to just die simply to a bullet to the face, like Tybalt Mar, for example, who'd been such a
Mm,
critical character
yeah,
throughout the wars, just basically just
yeah.
getting blown to pieces. Another
And
great
that I
moment.
think the
Sorry, yeah,
the
go for it.
part where they think that they've got Abaddon, and then he
Yeah.
escapes. And
Ah,
even I think, regardless of your allegiance to your legion, at the point where Abaddon escapes, you're like, oh,
yeah, you're
yeah,
so
have him.
frustrated, so frustrated.
Yeah,
Yeah. We got Sigismund, Dawn, Fulgrim, and Eidolon on the Saturnine wall.
yeah.
Uh,
Picking up his
the
ball and going home.
Yeah, the Emperor's Children basically launch an attack above the Saturnine Wall and on the Saturnine Wall, we get to see the fight between Sigismund and sorry, between Dawn and Fulgrim,
Dawn and
which
Fulgrim,
is
yeah.
excellent kind of set piece. Dawn's decision to sacrifice one of the last defensive positions talks about that and that decision. Janisha Kroll's actions and sacrifice, and I think one of the things I would say about the audio book, which is done really well, is actually they've got a female voice actor, and I
Yeah.
think that works really well
Oh,
because that doesn't
so good.
happen too often
No.
within the Horus Heresy series. And it's really, I've only heard it happen with the Cyphers Kane novels where they get a female voice actor. And I think that does a really good job explaining Kroll. We've seen her in Master of Mankind. She's such this like presence amongst the talons of the Emperor.
Mm.
And but we don't really know too much about her. And I think this was great to kind of get her point of view. And I think it was such a shame we didn't get to see more of her in any of the previous books. Um, we got the founding of the Inquisition by Dawn and Cinnamon, which is a really interesting one. Because I think it's interesting because we know where it eventually is gonna lead as well. So yeah, I suppose the whole book is one of our
Yeah.
top moments.
Have we also, again, referring back to the cover artwork, is Saturn not also the book where Angron ascends to demonhood when he's facing off against the Blood Angels and he just strides forward and he gets pumped in the eye of a las cannon and basically just melts into like kind of like
Yeah,
under
that's right. And then he comes back to then he comes back.
as
Yeah, yeah.
Angron ascended.
No, he's not Angron Ascended. He's just comes back as like he's already Angron Ascended by this point.
Mm.
Yeah,
Ah, it's so good, Rob. This
he's
book,
so
if
good.
you've
Yeah,
not,
it's
if
brilliant.
you think
It's
this
brilliant.
book is trash, you're trash. Know who you are. Ah, another great book that again you could list. Again, you could include Betrayer as Betrayer in the way we've
Yeah,
included Saturn as Saturnine,
yeah,
but we've
100%.
picked out the fight between Kharn and Erebus. The reason being is because in theory these guys are on the same side, but at the same time, no one's really on the side of Erebus.
Nope.
No. And this is where I think you start to see Khan's, you start to see the descent of Khan. And again, one of the biggest falls from grace. I mean, we ultimately know what happens to Khan, but this is the seeds are sown for him becoming the betrayer. You've got some such good moments because his relationship with Tal is just fantastic. Um, it's one of the biggest bromances. Like, forget Pollux and Dantioch. This for me is the biggest bromance of
Oh
the.
yeah, and believable as well. Like
Yeah,
yeah, I think that these guys have been forged in the fires of war together, and they're just such a great glimpse into their legions, despite the fact they're almost the polar opposite of their actual legions.
yeah,
They embody the very worst and the very best of what their legions are.
yeah. And this is the point where I think where Khan just is like, I've had enough of this dickhead.
Yeah,
Like, regardless of what we're doing in terms of the heresy, like this guy is a knobhead, and I would like
yeah.
to take him down.
And it was also vengeance for Erebus
Yeah,
killing Argotol.
Rotal, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, oh yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, I think it's been said by every single heresy commentator, influencer, content creator out there. But if you've not read Betrayer, you need to just put down whatever you're doing, and don't actually finish watching this first. Then put down anything else and go and read Betrayer.
Yeah.
The book that has spawned a million armies.
Yeah, yeah, not wrong.
I've not read Prince of Crows for such a long time, so
Ah,
I'm going to allow you to take us
Woo.
through Sevatar taking control of the Legion.
Yeah. So, Prince of Crows basically opens up at the end or the conclusion of the Thramas Crusade. So
Mm.
the Dark Angels and the Night Lords are essentially fighting in Thramas, the system of Thramas, or the sector of Thramas. I don't know which one. And we don't really hear too much about their war, except for in the post. The post kind of scenes of the war, there
Mm.
is a battle on Segwalsa where we kind of see the lion and the nighthorn to
Yeah.
fight. But again, that's in a short story. It's not really given too much
No.
pride of place in a novel, which is such an odd one because so many words were dedicated to the the Dark Angels before they even came to anyway, we won't lament it, but the Thramas Crusade would have been a cool series of novels, I think. Anyway, the Legion basically gets their asses handed to them by the Dark Angels. They are scattered, they are divided, and they are almost leaderless in the sense that Comrade Kurz is lying in a comatose state because of the fight that he's just had with the lion. In order to basically restructure, reform the Legion, uh, Sevatar is forced to take drastic action against the existing Chiroptera, which are the kind of like the senior elites, the senior commanders of the Night Lords Legion. And in order to do that, and in order to bring the Legion back together, he has to make executive decisions and basically in a coup d'état,
Yeah.
um, uh, kill some of the Chiroptera, and then basically reform them, giving Chiroptera seats to other commanders. And it is such a great illustration of his ruthlessness, his dark humor,
Mm.
and the fact that he will just do anything. And I think the idea that you could say, he would betray anyone. It's not quite as simple as that. I think that
No.
with his character, it's about kind of going, what's best for the Legion and
Yeah, exactly. That's for the
what
greater good.
for the greater good, which is an unusual thing to say about like somebody so infamous as Sevatar. Um, but he does it with a logic and a dark and a black humor that just makes the scenes absolutely fascinating, enjoyable, and funny. And I think one of the things about Prince of Crows and just the initial opening scene of Prince of Crows is that we don't actually see a lot of humor within the Horus Heresy. Really, there's not funny. It's not a funny story, and there aren't funny moments in the way that Cypher's Kane is humorous. But
Mm.
this is just the humor within this is so dark and black that it's such a great moment. And I really recommend it. It will take a couple of hours to read the Prince of Crows, and you'll fall in love with Kurz. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but uh, the um, the betrayal at the beginning is so cleverly done, without any sort of emotion, that it's just absolutely brilliant. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. Brilliant, brilliant moment.
Oh, there we go. That's what I'm going to be doing this evening. So from the first heretic, Kerry actually included a couple of bits from the first heretic, but he's a naughty little word bearer sausage, so we actually got rid of a couple of them. So this is the Custodes' last stand on Isstvan. So this is, I think, when the Golden Boys realized that, like, oh, this is the new normal. Shit's hit the fan. This is what's happened. So Force of Custodes has accompanied the word bearers for over 50 years since Monarchia, never noticing Lorgar's planning, such is his cunning and guile. Um, with the truth of the Dropside Massacre now laid bare, the Custodes gather on the planet's surface. They're pursued by Argyltal and the Galvorbak, driven by rage and seeking vengeance. So this is kind of like your brave kind of Spartans versus the hordes, really. So
Mm.
and this is the kind of I'm right in thinking as well. This is the first time that we kind of hear from the Custodes,
Yeah,
really.
we see them in action. Like we had got the short before this. We'd got the short story where Ammon Turamakian,
Mm.
basically, but it was a story called Blood Games, which was in an anthology, and Amon Turamakian basically kind of like the Custodes do these things called Blood Games, where basically
Yes,
they're always trying to top the Emperor, or try and get as close to him as
as
possible,
possible. Yeah,
and in order to kind of learn more about the weaknesses of the Imperial Palace and just in general more about the weaknesses of the his protection. Um, and Ammon gets really, really close. But that's the first time we see. Really the first time we see the Custodes in action. But this is where we see the Custodes against, or kind of as a counterpoint to the legions and how differently they fight,
yeah.
which is really cool. Really
This
cool.
is
They describe them as like lions, don't they? They're like single
yeah.
hunters, like lions, whereas the legions are like wolves and they hunt in a pack. It's cool.
Yeah, this is also, I think, the point as well where the Custodes realise that this isn't just brothers who have betrayed brothers. This is brothers who have fallen to chaos,
Mm.
and this is a completely different enemy to those that they thought they were going to be fighting as well. So
Yeah, yeah. It's that moment for me where Sithran, who was an amazing, like he's a noted warrior. But it's interesting as well because Sithran has taken this vow of silence, which is which is really interesting. Like the concept doesn't, religious concepts really don't exist within the 31st millennium. But he's taken this vow of silence, and you never hear from him in the books. Um, and then he throws the spear at um,
um,
at Zaphon, who is a very annoying character actually
yeah,
throughout
he is. Yeah,
throughout it. His aloofness
it's a
and
very
arrogance.
satisfying death.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think it's just such a great moment where he says, "I always hated you, Zaphon," and then that's it.
yeah.
That's the end of the scene. Yeah, it's very cool.
Okay, so. This is from this is and this is where we are going to be critical, and I think Rob and I have discussed this off camera. This is the good bit of this book, a book that is many, 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 many pages long and is largely filled with people being lost, people not knowing where they are.
Yeah, that's
We
true.
like
That's true.
the world is upside down. Nothing makes sense anymore. Like we get it, okay? We get it.
Yeah.
Um, So the reason that Kerry's included this one, I think the reason that Rob and I kept it in when we were going through our kind of ruthless cull was that it's a great moment to understand someone who's got not necessarily got like a direct involvement in the heresy, but that the outcome of the heresy will have a direct involvement on him and his entire race and being and the history of their race, both in the history and also the history going forwards as well. So this is written from the perspective of Eldrad Ulthran, who is a character who is obviously a big player in the 41st millennium, but makes several kind of cameo appearances in the heresy as we go through, and actually kind of um, quite a nice perspective to kind of to go back to when you need to understand a different perspective or someone who's not necessarily directly kind of engaged and involved. I think he's a really, really good, interesting character. So uh, I'll read what Kerry's written here. So, as terror collapses under the weight of the War Master's assault, the Harlequins of the Eldari make their first visit to a craft world since the fall. That's the fall of the Eldar and the creation of Slaanesh. So, Eldar travel from across the galaxy to watch what most, including Eldrad himself, believe to be the reenactment of their past, only to learn it is the future of a different species following the same path they once did. So, basically the creation of chaos. Um, the solitaire does not respond. Sorry, the solitaire does not represent she who thirsts. No, says Eldrad, you are mistaken. What is the name of this dance? The Drukhari asks. It is the dance of the end and the death. This is the troop master. And what role does the solitaire play? The one that shall be born, the new god.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is such a cool scene.
Yeah,
And I was sad that we didn't see more Eldrad
yeah,
Uthway in this book because I kind of feel like he was a bit of a lost opportunity. We saw him on Unremembered Empire. He kind of made a
yeah.
him and John Grammaticus were kind of working together, and then
And
really
he also
this.
he went to tea with Fulgrim.
That's right, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and then this is really where we see him next, and I think yeah, this is such such an awesome moment. Like this is so cool, just to give us a glimpse into what else is happening in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Other
and
people who've got a stake.
yeah, and that like the idea of this Dark King, which is the preeminent issue with Volume Two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think is yeah, absolutely really really cool. Love it.
Well, here we go.
Here we
The
go.
dark.
I was listening to this book only today.
Were you? Well,
Yeah,
in
I've
which
just been
case
reading.
then, please, Robert, take us away.
So there are a number of epic moments, and any time the Emperor rises from his throne, either in The End of the Death or in Master of Mankind, it is a moment to take note. So the End and the Death, um, Horus has lowered his shields, and the Emperor has one chance and only one chance to potentially end the heresy and end Horus. So he rises from the throne. And this is it. This is the last time he'll rise from that throne before he's on it for all of eternity. And Malkador will take his place.
I
But
think that's the bit for me. That's the bit that gets me
yeah,
right here.
in the fields, and all of his
And the
sons,
way.
or
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, sorry.
sorry,
No, no,
go
no, no,
for
no,
it.
no, no.
I was going to say all of his sons are arrayed, or the ones at least
Yeah,
who are on Terra and on his side are arrayed. Below him, we've got Vulcan, we got Valdor, we got Dawn, and we got Sanguinius as well. And then Malkador kind of like takes his seat on the throne.
yeah,
And then, I think what's great about this moment is that the Emperor just takes, he takes a moment to mourn the loss of his friend, and he's referred to as his friend. It's funny, isn't it? Because we often see the Emperor as this person who uses people to get ultimately what he wants, but he is sad for a brief moment. And then, he turns back and rubs his hands together and goes, right, let's do this
yeah,
in the form of kind of Anabasis and the assault on the vengeful spirit.
yeah.
It's such a great moment, and I think that one thing you really get a sense of as well is that Malkador, who's been with him for thousands of
Oh
years,
man, fucking hell.
even
Right.
Malkador is just it's still in awe of the Emperor,
Yeah,
um, which I think is yeah, I think it just really illustrates his power and his authority and his awe. And it's such a moment. I think when you go into this book and you go, now's the time. Now they're doing the fight back. Like so this was like a similar moment to Saturnine, where you go, okay, he's risen from the throne. His Primarchs are by his side. The Custodian are arming themselves.
it's
Let's
on.
do this. Like
Yeah,
it is on. Yeah, yeah.
it is on. But I personally, I love that aspect of it. But the bit that all like that I remember listening to this the first time round. No, I didn't. I've read it, but I listened to it the first time, and just the passage of Malkador coming to terms with the fate that he always knew he was going
Mm,
to have, and he
mm,
kind of it's written obviously from kind of from Malkador's perspective, and he just as he ascends the throne to meet his fate, like he's not sure if he's capable. Like you've got this kind of
mm.
got so many emotions. You've kind of got like yeah, as you say, like he's completely in awe of the Emperor, and I don't think he's coming to terms with the significance of what he's going to be doing in terms of like
Yeah,
what he needs to be able to do for the sake of mankind, and he's got this doubt that if is he capable,
yeah,
and then he basically like he ascends the throne to a fate like worse than death.
yeah, yeah. It's nuts. Yeah,
Yeah, and he
it's
also
great.
knows at this point as well, like he's doing this to kind of give the emperor the opportunity, but there's no guarantee that they'll
Yeah, no, no,
they'll be able to follow through with it. It's just there's so many emotions, and it's just such an amazingly well written kind of piece in the
Peace,
books.
yeah, this is great. Yeah,
Yeah.
such a great moment.
Oh man, I need to read the last passage. So it's here, as Malkador says, "The sun is in my eyes, my lord, my king of ages, my friend, my master of mankind. He stands. He has risen from the golden throne. He stands above me like the god he isn't."
Yeah, so good,
Whew,
so good. Right,
dear,
what's up next?
I think, mate.
Oh, that's it. That
I
is
mean,
the end of the death.
how could we leave it on any other kind of?
What a moment.
You'll notice that we've not included the Emperor slaying Horus in there at any point. We've not included the death of Sang.
No, no. These are all those bits. I think are. I guess they're harder to kind of really go. Whoa, that's epic because we knew that they were coming. Like no matter how long or lengthy
Yeah, that
those
is true.
chapters are,
Yeah,
that it's like reading a book about World War Two
yeah.
and
You
then
know the
try
ultimate outcome.
and then kind of going, well, I know how it's going to. It's interesting the journey how we get there, but I know the ultimate
Yeah,
ending on this.
yeah, exactly. But
Um,
what about Camp Rupert Piper? What are they up to? You know,
so again,
that's what we want to know. We want to know
yeah,
what
yeah,
Camp
yeah,
Rupert
yeah,
Piper are up to.
exactly,
Like,
exactly, yeah,
you know, we
exactly,
want to
yeah,
know what's happening in in the Ardennes. We want to know what's
yeah, yeah,
yeah
yeah. And that's, I think, yeah. I mean, there are so many moments that we culled from this as well, and so many moments that were not even put on the PowerPoint before we
on the short
culled.
list. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
like,
not even the long list. I mean, the long
yeah,
list,
yeah, yeah. Because
fucking
we, we
long.
we we wrote we wrote a lot of. I mean, just even off the top of my head, I mean, an epic moment from the traitor's point of view is where the Lorgar, they're fighting above the skies of Armatura, and
Hmm.
then Lorgar's having the conversation with Magnus, and then one of the massive fuck off ships, like it's like the Trisagian or the Blessed Lady or something,
Yeah, thanks, Blessed
comes
Lady.
in,
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, did you? Is this the only one he made?" He was like, "No, I made another," and another
yeah,
ship kind of like appears from the
yeah,
war. But there were such epic
yeah,
moments, and I suppose the other thing is that if you're a loyalist or you got a loyalist or a traitor heart,
yeah.
your moments will be different to
Yeah.
the opposing
You
side.
know,
So.
we didn't talk about shagging underneath the tracks of a Lehman Russ.
No, 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 no,
We,
we did
you know,
not.
there's loads of things we could have covered. In fact, we didn't cover anything kind of like human or
No,
Mechanicum related, really.
no, no, not at all. Not at all.
They are
Yeah,
purely sidebars. So
yeah.
there are so many honourable mentions that we're not going to bother giving them because it would take us all day. However, we will give some honourable mentions to our sponsors. Battle Bling, if you're interested in accoutrements for your games of Horus Heresy, be them at big scale or little scale, and also if you are wanting some nameplates for your cool characters that feature heavily in the lore, either those that you are making up or those that exist, then head over to Battle Bling store, check out the Battle Builder, and then use code Heresy Hammer at checkout for 10% off your order. If you are looking for a bit from a kit just to finish off that character, finish off that unit, you want a tank, but you don't want the other tanks, etc., etc., then you can head over and see the guys at Bits Monster. They offer free UK shipping for orders over £25. And again, if you use the code Heresy at checkout, you'll get 10% off your Heresy items. And without sorry, last but my name is least. The guys at Curtain Games, always big supporters of the show. It's where we buy all our plastics. So whenever there's a new box release, what's the first thing that Rob and I do? We jump on Instagram. We have both message Curtain Games from the Heresy Hammer account, and then really confuse Tim as to who's doing what with
Who's
whom.
us? What? Yeah.
So but somehow they always work it out and they always get our stuff here either on time or early, and they're great pricing, and they've also got a really, really good local scene as well. So down in kind of South Devon, if you want to get along to some Heresy events or 40k or Star Wars, whatever your kind of jam is, then make sure you follow Curtain Games and tell them that you came from us when you buy all of your bits and bobs. So we've talked about special characters a lot. Would you like to talk about some more special characters, Rob? And
Well,
by that I mean
these
our
are
Heresy Hammer Praetors.
these are. I mean, these are our Chiroptera. I mean,
Yeah,
these guys are the
yeah,
appointed by Sevatar himself, aren't they? These
yeah.
guys.
When Lee ascends the stairs to take his place in the Golden Throne, these are the guys that will be waiting as you and I go off and fight someone.
This is it. These are the
Yeah.
companions. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, we've not mentioned it once because, to be fair, Rob and I have been so focused on the laser focused on our favorite moments from the lore. But if you are looking for some additional Heresy Hammer content, there's absolutely shed loads of it. We've got as probably possibly even as many shows we've done main shows over on the Patreon now, so you can get double the Heresy Hammer and for as little as £3 a month.
Hmm.
These are our Praetors who support us at the toppest of top tiers and will be receiving very soon, if they haven't already received their latest Praetor reward, which is a phenomenal set of tokens with an engraved Heresy Hammer box and other bits and bobs. You can see that over on the Heresy Hammer Patreon. So visit patreon.com/Heresy Hammer. If you've not already subscribed, you can get yourself a 7-day free trial to consume some of the content. If you have been a Patreon subscriber in the past and would like to get back on board, we'd love to have you back. We've got we're getting close to 1,000 members of the Patreon now, which is rather bananas when you consider the humble beginnings where we started from. So thank you to absolutely everybody. Your contributions really do help keep the lights on, and they are also helping us fund a lot of our big kind of global community initiatives we've got going this year as well. So all of the support for events, the website with the events calendar, other bits and pieces, other projects we've got going on in the background, of which there are some very exciting things that we would look to reveal shortly. Then please consider supporting us. Yeah, like I said, you can support us as little as £3 a month. It does make a huge difference. I'm not going to bang on about it too much more because I'll be honest with you, I'm still reeling from my emotions surrounding Malcathal ascending the throne and taking up the Emperor's mantle. So, okay, right, last wrap up. So, if you are on Instagram, don't forget to head over to @HeresyHammer which is the show's Instagram, and give us a follow there. Rob has been putting up some controversial stuff as of late, so why not give your thoughts on that? I haven't checked, by the way. Let's check live and see if we know what Latara Sarin is currently bidding at. Do we know?
Oh, good idea. Yeah, just to say, it's not controversial things that we've done. It's just controversial things that
Oh,
happen.
no, we've not done anything controversial at all.
No, not this time. No. So we saw somebody screenshot a Latara Sarin being sold on eBay, and it's not even out. Like it was shown, it was previewed on Valentine's Day in February, of course, but it's not for sale and it's not been on pre-order. And some schmuck has it, and some schmuck is selling it on the World Wide Web.
Currently, she's going for £47.52 as of the time of recording. So actually, probably not far off what she's going to cost when she's released.
I was literally about to say worse. Probably cheaper than what's going to go.
Absolutely. Someone's going to get a bargain.
Yeah. But we just haven't got any rules for it. That's the problem. We haven't seen any rules for it yet, have we?
No. As long as she's got an incredibly powerful las pistol, that's all we need.
Mastercrafted las pistol. Yeah.
Correct. If she's not got a mastercrafted las pistol, don't want to know. So if you've got all this way through this video and you've not subscribed to the channel, what are we doing here? But please also give the video a like, and we would love to know in the comments what your favorite moments are from the lore. You can completely and utterly disagree with us. That's absolutely fine. We have got the thickest of skins. Well, Rob has. I've got an incredibly paper thin, fragile skin, but that's why Rob's here to field the hate. And share it amongst your friends, colleagues at work, family members who you might see at barbecues, etc., etc. Tell them how good we are. If you've got any correspondence for our upcoming correspondence specials, if you're interested in us kind of critiquing a list, etc., then you can email us at heresyhammer30k@gmail.com. Patreon.com/HeresyHammer for financial support. And if you also enjoy listening to episodes, we've recently spent some time uploading some old episodes to the podcast feed, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, etc., 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 etc. And if you're interested in chatting with us and other like-minded heresy enthusiasts from all over the globe, you can join the WhatsApp community. If you check out the show notes of the show or head over to Instagram, there'll be a link to it in the link tree. And with that, Rob, I think we're going to close our Black Library novel of choice, and we're going to head off and all go and listen to some short stories.
Sounds excellent. I can highly recommend all of the books that we've mentioned in this show.
Genuinely go and buy every book or download it on Audible, so you will not be disappointed.
And The Last Church, if you guys are new to I mean, we should have said this in the main show really, but if you guys are new and haven't listened to like the anthologies, like The Last Church is just absolutely brilliant.
Oh mate, it will get you. It will give you a completely new perspective, and that's the thing. What the books do so well is they give you all these different perspectives, and it will just fuel your heresy fire.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Cool. Right. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's good for me.
And goodbye from me.
Right. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye now.